Oh, well, I can
Hello
hear you.
everyone, good evening. All right. So my name is Monsurat and I'm going to be presenting with Opeyemi and we're presenting input test fields and variants. So Opeyemi, are you ready? So you can just get started.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right. So
All right.
let's get
So,
started.
okay. So, what are input text fields? So, basically, input text fields are an essential user interface design element, which provides users with the means to enter non-standardized responses. They typically appear in forms and dialogues. So, generally, a UI designer should be able to design effective forms because forms help users accomplish a wide range of goals, such as opening a new account, making a purchase, get giving feedback, scheduling events, etc. So basically, every form should be carefully thought out, so users can complete it quickly and without confusion, regardless of the aim. So generally, the input fields are what makes a form effective. One of the most crucial parts of the design system is the input field. We did introduction to design system in I think the previous two classes. So this is like an extension of the foundations of a design system. Excuse me. So basically, an input field or an input text field needs to be designed carefully and accurately to ensure that there is a quick and accurate form completion rate. So that's just the introduction about what input text fields are for and the aim towards designing them. So
Oh,
yes, Ujolape, you have the mic now.
yeah, you can just call me Tech Baby, please. Okay, so I'll be explaining the elements of basic input field. So I designed like an input field, then I labeled it. So it's going to be like self-explanatory. So the elements is just what consists of an input field. We have the label, we have the container, which is where like the rectangle you draw for the input field. I'll explain it that way. Like the rectangle you draw for the input field, while the label is like the title of the input field as we have it there, like password, what you want them to enter into the input field is like the label. Then we have the placeholder. So I decided not to like label anything as a placeholder here because this is like an active state. But when the input field is idle, then we'll have a placeholder, which is like going to like it's just like a short description on what to enter in that input field. Then we have the helper or the validation test, which is like an int or a to like explain. So I think it works better on password. So it's just like giving them an hint on what to type and if the password is correct or if it's not correct, how to like do better on that. Then we have trailing icons and leading icons. So those icons are optional, depends on the type of input field you are designing. Then leading icon is optional, depends on the designer. Because me, I prefer using leading icons in my input field because I feel like it can also like interpret what I'm trying to do, while other designer can feel like they don't really need it. So those two icons are optional depending on what you're trying to do. Next page, please.
All right. Can you see the next
Okay,
page?
so we yeah, yes, I can see it. So we have three main different input field styles. We have the top aligned, which is like the most popular one. Then we have the left aligned and we have the like the right aligned. So the top aligned is like the most popular one as the one easy to use and the fastest to like complete a task because you don't really have to strain your eyes. The user don't really have to strain your eyes when they are trying to fill it. So I feel like that's why most designers or application adopt this type of input field. While the left align is good because you it's like it does not consume vertical spacing. You can like shrink it into like a very short space. And but I feel like it's not good because the user has to like strain their eyes to like fill in whatever they need to fill in, and it's going to like take much time to complete the task. Same with the right aligned, but the only thing is with right aligned, because the label test is much closer to the input field. It's like it's faster, a bit faster than the left align. But however, they like you can manage it in like a very small vertical spacing. So that's why I feel like most people use the top align, because it's easy to use and it's like more self-explanatory, and you can recognize it. User can recognize it better. I don't think I've seen more of like left aligned than right aligned input field before. Have I? I don't think I have. But I've seen like top aligned everywhere. So okay, Goodwill said, I think the left aligned is still okay. Let me check. It's still okay. So yes, on the website it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to use on the website. But I'm still waiting for top aligned. I feel it's better to both. Yeah, so let's move to the next slide.
Awesome. Just before that, to also add to what my code just said, basically, one of the reasons why the top aligned input fields are more popular is because they are basically the best to use on mobile screens, because you wouldn't want to use the left aligned or right aligned input fields on a mobile screen. It would consume more horizontal space and, excuse me, make your designs look clustered. So, okay.
Okay, so yeah, we have different types of input fields. So the type of input fields you are using depends on what you want to design for, or the task you want your user to carry out. So we have the basic input field, which is like just your normal username, inputting your username or email address. That does not like need for you to like add icons or anything. Then we have the calendar input field, where you have to, it has like another format to input it. Then so some designer can choose to add the calendar icon, while somebody else might choose like not to add it. So we also have like selection input field, whereby maybe you want to like select what you want to input. Then we also have the phone number. So I feel like the phone number can also work for country, because you can it has selection. You have the selection icon and you have like the flag there, so it can also work for country. But I feel like the way we design is different. We all have like our design pattern. So what I have here might not be the way you design it, but the only thing that matters is like we are following the right guidelines for it. Then we also have the search input field, and we have like the description input field. So the description input field is a bit different, because the box is a bit larger than in like the regular input field, because since it's description, we expect the user to like what the user wants to type might be a bit longer than the regular input field. Okay, please, the next slide. Okay, so the best practice for input test fields. So to provide the right test field for a required or a requested data, to help like is also going to like help users to complete the tasks they're trying to do and not get confused. So according to human interaction guidelines, there are some like basic tips when you are trying to design an input field, which include is more of like the elements of input field. I feel like it's the same, because you have to have your label test, like a small amount of information of what you want your user to do. Then you have an int, which is also like validation message, letting your user know that okay, they're doing the right thing or they need to change what they are doing. And use secure test when it comes to this. I think this applies to if you are when you want to input password, you using the eye icons and and you trying to like cover the password. I feel like we've both experienced that before. Then To the extent possible, match the size of a test field to the quantity of the anticipated test. So this is more about talking about description. Like I said before, when you know that, okay, what you want your user to type here might be a bit longer than the regular one. So you're expected to design like a bigger input field for that, then validate fields when it makes sense. So it's still it's still talking about the int when your user is typing the right information. There should be something that will pop up and let the user know that, okay, you're doing the right thing. Then use a number formatter to up with metric data. This has to do with numbers, like maybe example when you're filling for an application and they want you to like type your expected salary. So sometimes you might just type everything together. So I feel this is like a work of a developer, but there should be something that will indicate that, okay, this is thousand, this is million, and this is like in decimal points. So that's what that is referring to. So okay, please next.
Can you see the next page, or is it my network that is lagging?
You are still on
I've changed to.
I think you're on 7. You're on 7/10. You could stop presenting and try presenting again.
Yes. I'm actually at the right page.
I love how your slides are just 10 slides and
Can you hear me?
are going right into it.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Can you stop presenting, Opeyemi? Because we're still on 7. What slide do you plan to share?
No, it's not much anymore. It's not much.
No. I mean, what were you trying to show us? Is this 7 you're trying to show us?
Yes,
7
yes, it's 7. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. So go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, Monsurat. Techbaby.
So
okay, maybe let me just take it. Okay, so input text fields should change their appearance based on their state and user interactions. So basically, you wouldn't want all your inputs to be bland or to look the same. It might confuse the user because you basically want you want to interpret the current state, or you want to pass across the right message to the user. So they have to be unique in their appearance to help the user understand what's actually going on and what it should do. So to visually communicate the state of the input field you design, it should be designed in states. There are generally 6 different input field states, but in some rare circumstances and according to the needs of the product, you might want to add or remove from it, but generally there are about 6, which is the idle state, the over state, the active state, the error state, validation state, and disabled state. So basically, we do not use the over state on mobile screens, but for the purpose of this session, it would be demonstrated and explained. Excuse me. So all states should be clearly differentiated from one another and consistent throughout the whole form and application. Because one of the principles of visual design is to ensure that your designs are consistent. So you wouldn't want to use a different active state in one screen and your active state in another screen would be different. It would confuse your users. And excuse me, that's one of the importance of creating and using variants and components. So to create different states for input fields, components and variants are the best form of approach to use. And this would simplify your design process and increase your design speed. So for illustration purposes, this is the, can you see my cursor?
Yep, yes, we can.
Okay, so illustration purposes, the first one is the idle states, the second one is the over states. People like to design their over states in different styles, but generally, the over states would generally show that the border would be darker. Then the third one is the active states. The fourth one is the error state. You can easily see that with the visual cue of color red. The next state is the success state or validation state, whichever one you'd like to call it, while the last one is the disabled state. So I don't know if Techbaby wants to do this, but I should just continue.
I don't think she's back. I'll just check out WhatsApp obviously village people, so I'll just see what's going on.
All right. So variants are component combinations that we can group as a single component set. The use of variants while designing makes your work faster, easier, and more consistent. With variants, you can simply select the input field you want to use, then adjust the property values based on your design needs. So, excuse me, how to create input text field variants. So we'll be going to Figma to do that. So yeah, let's go into Figma.
Also,
So
just so we can make sure we're carrying everyone along, I'd like to take a brief pause now and say shout out to everyone for joining, even though you people came late. But we're not going to be mad at all. Michael, I see you. Jess, I see you. Daniel, I see you. And we have newbies here. I have some fellow newbies. I mean, Adiri, I don't mean you're newbies, but we know ourselves. Before you guys joined, Felicia, Daniel, and some other people like me said they're just starting out. So I trust Opeyemi to break it down. It's not going to drop to variants alone. You show us best practice on how we even draw rectangle in the first place. So for the sake of we that are starting, just carry us along as much as you can. So far, you started great. I love the slides. They're very clean. And if you have questions so far, based on what has been said before they go right into practicals, I would say maybe you could maybe raise your hand, and this is supposed to be a discussion. So it's a back and forth, and yeah, it works that way. Then questions from the senior men and women will come much later, okay? And tips also. So for now, basically strictly on the slide so far. Do we have any questions? Daniel Alpha, even if you don't have questions, Daniel, I'm curious to introduce yourself so that I can find someone to Daniel Ayomide. Are you there, Daniel? Mic check. Okay, Daniel isn't speaking. Felicia Eyang, are you there? Okay, good.
Hi.
Felicia, hi.
I'm here.
Felicia, when did you start designing? When did you start
Can you hear
designing?
me?
Hi, when did you start
Hello?
designing? Yeah, I can, sure, I can. When did you start designing?
I think it's been about 2 months.
2 months. That's not bad actually. So how is it going so far?
It's been okay, but it's been okay. It's been challenging, but I enjoy what I'm doing actually. I must say the classes
All right, cool. I think that's
the classes have been helping too. It's been helping a great deal.
awesome. Are you on the WhatsApp group by any chance?
Yeah, I'm on the WhatsApp group.
Okay, cool. So in case you get stuck along the way, just feel free to drag anyone, and I mean literally anyone. Ask them for help if they don't answer you.
You guys are making it very easy. So no problem if I get.
All right, cool.
Say something. Thank you.
Awesome. That's the feedback I really want to get. Thanks for that feedback. Very good. Thank you very much. Opeyemi, over to you. I've sent a message to Techbaby. I hope it's not so serious. I know you guys planned this together, but you are doing a great job so far. Oh, she's back. Techbaby, what's going on? Oh?
it's fine.
Yeah, it's my network. I'm really sorry. Please.
Name and shame. Who is following your hand right now? Name and shame the company. Let them hear. What company? What? Can you see? She said she's back and she left again. Oh, everyone network are you using that is good. What network are you using?
MTN, but lately all Nigerian networks have been really poor in recent times. I'm even surprised that MTN is actually sufficiently good this night. I just hope they stay consistent. Yeah.
No, I hope so too for our own sake. If not, Michael will teach the rest of the class. Michael Alpha. Michael, are you still driving? Okay, I think Michael is driving. So, Opeyemi, you have the floor.
All right. Before I start the practicals, I would like to say that no matter whatever process or whatever means that you see outside or elsewhere, or you see here. I think the most important thing is to understand your design process and to simplify your design process for yourself. Because if you are designing to simplify solutions for your users, then definitely your design process should also be simplified for yourself. So don't put unnecessary pressure on yourself from the design processes you see from elsewhere and all. The most important thing is to understand your own design process and to make your stakeholders and the developer that would be developing the products to understand your design process also. So to get right into it, basically, the first thing to do when designing an input field, if you'll be using icons, is to get your icons ready. I have an icon set that I use, but I purposely did not bring it into this file because I'm trying to make it beginner friendly, and I'm trying to start from scratch and move from the last two previous topics we discussed, which is design system. So yes, so I'll be downloading the icons I'll be using from, sorry, let me close this one. I'll be downloading the icons I'll be using from Google Icons.
Opeyemi, as you are downloading it, I want to confirm if Techbaby is back. Techbaby, we're sorry about your internet, but let's see if you're back now.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, that sounds very good. What network was falling your hand? Name and shame them. Eh? What?
SpectraNet.
SpectraNet's good. So SpectraNet sucks for everyone that is listening. We're trying to get something like Techbaby. So hopefully you guys can get back in sync and figure it out. But yeah, Opeyemi has started taking us on the practical aspect of it. So we trust on you people's mandate. Yeah, Opeyemi, over to you.
Yeah, so basically, I downloaded 5 icons because I don't want it to be too much, while I also want the process to be sufficient enough and comprehensible. So I would import my icons right into Figma. So yeah, I have that now. So basically, to simplify the whole process, I will convert my icons into variants to help me switch between them when designing the input fields. So I would group similar icons and the ones that would be necessary for me. Yeah, so let me align them horizontally. And yeah, I'll also distribute the spacing between them and reduce them. So yeah, so basically, to create a component set, you can either do it in 2 ways. You can first click on this component button here, drop down. So you won't click on create components. You click on create multiple components, and then come here and combine them as variants. That's the first step to do that. Then you can also just do that directly by creating a component set. That's the last option on the dropdown here. So this is actually my own process. So after doing that, I create an auto layout for it. For people who don't know what auto layout is, it helps you stay consistent and maintain an even spacing in your elements. Yes, so after making it a component, I then create the variant set for it. So I'll click on one of the icons, come here, change the property to height.
Senior Opeyemi, I don't know what variant set is, boss, please. Can you explain to a 7-year-old what a variant set?
All right.
You don't have
So
to break it down. Just tell us why we are doing it, and for whoever wants to learn, we'll go and learn it. Just for the sake of moving forward, just tell us what.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I explained before that the reason why I'm doing this is to help me switch between the icons in the input fields easily. Because if you don't do this generally, if you start designing without arranging and grouping your icons together and making them a variant, you would have to create multiple screens or, excuse me, duplicate icons several times, and that can be quite stressful. So basically, a variant is a system that helps you switch between, multiple elements in your design with a single click. So that's basically the use of a variant. So, but after the class, I'll drop some YouTube links from some links to for extensive knowledge about variants and all. But so far, basically, variants helps you switch between elements of your design with a single click without having to move your cursor around your screen a lot of times, or without having to design multiple screens for a single action. So to move forward from that, so to create your variant, basically you want to establish a property and the variant quality of the property. So for the purpose of this class, I'm only establishing a property for these icons here, which is the type, because I'll be switching between the type of the icons. So I'm establishing the property, which is type, and the name of the icon, or the value of the icon, or anything. But for the purpose of this lecture, I'll be using the name of the icon. And this is the calendar. And I would say this one is visibility off. And this will be visibility on. So yes, so the purpose, the whole essence of this is to, let's say for instance, I import this into a design. I'll be able to change this to the visible eye icon. I can also change it to the visibility of icon and change it back to the calendar icon. So when designing, I don't have to come here, copy this one, paste, come here, copy this one, paste, come here, copy this one, and paste. So that's just the whole essence of variants. So I'll do the same thing for these similar icons also. I would align them and create an even spacing between them. So like I said before, to create a component set for different elements, you just come here, click on the drop down, and click the last option on the drop down, and then yes, so I'll do the same thing I did here. I would create a property for it and a variant quality for the property. So the property for this one would be, I can also use type or state on anyone. And then this one would be error. Oh, sorry, this one would be approved because it reflects the check mark. And this one would be error. Like I said before, if I want to change this to approved, I'll just come here and click on approved and it will change. So that's just the basic use of variant sets. Yes, so now that I have this, the next thing I do is to basically get the correct width for the input field. You know, basically when designing, you just don't create your design values out of your head. It has to be well structured and well aligned with other elements on your screen. So basically, I use the 8-pixel screen, the 8-pixel design system, the design grid for my designs. Some people use 10, some people use 2, but generally I use 8. Although in some rare circumstances, I might use 2. So I'm just trying to lay a foundation for that. So after that, I then create my frame. I like to use
Opeyemi, for because I noticed I could feel this, I could feel in my spirit some people got, you know, you blew the grammar, you blew 8th grade. The sound they think is like one crazy thing. So in a very simple nutshell, what Opeyemi simply means is when he's doing his measurements, he likes using things like 8, 16, 32, 24, 4, things that are multiples and factors. So if he's going to draw a box, that box is likely to be 16 and not 17. You know, it works with those multiples. And as you grow as designers and you want to like level up your design, you find out how it's easier. Life is easier when the spacing between one button and another button is 8 or 16 or 32, and your border radius, it makes things easier. And I think it has a lot to do with the golden ratio. I'm not very sure. So that's basically what Opeyemi means, and I'm sure you're going to see it reflect in his designs as we move forward. So I'm hoping Felicia is still with us. I'm hoping who's that other fellow beginner that is like me? I think that was Daniel Ayomide. So just give me thumbs up, Felicia. You don't have to unmute. Just let me know if you are still flowing with us and we can carry on. Otherwise, they won't go anywhere. Okay, cool. So Daniel has given us the green light. Opeyemi, you are safe. Moving on.
All right. So then to get the right width and size for my input field, I would first create the screen I'm designing for, which is a mobile screen. So basically, I like to use the iPhone 13 mini, but you can use any screen. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter. I just have a special preference for this because this was what I was introduced to as a UX designer. So I have a special love for this screen. But basically, your screen size doesn't really matter. The most important thing is to get the right element sizes for the screen. So yes, so to do this, the next thing I want to do is to get my margin for the sizes. And remember I said I use the 8-pixel grid system for my designs. So basically to get the right margin, you can either use the ruler, but that's not beginner friendly. It's more complicated because you have to do some additions and minuses and all. So I'd rather just click on this layout grid here, click on this button, change the grid to columns. Remember I said I use the 8-pixel grid system. So because 8 is divisible by 4, I'll change this to 4. Or is it 4 is divisible by 8? I don't know. So the margin also, I like to use between 16 and 24. Either one is fine. And on rare circumstances, I use 32. But for the purpose of this session, I'll use 16. Then the total will be 8. That's my base figure. And I'm done with that. So then this would help me align everything I'll be designing on this screen and make it well centered also. Yes, so after doing that, I start designing my input field text. So the first thing I design is my label. I like to use 14 or 16 for my label size and a line height of 18 for it. It's a multiples of 8, 4, and in rare circumstances 2. So after that, I'll duplicate it. And okay, let me make it beginner friendly. So after doing that, I'll also create another frame, which would serve as my input field. I like to use between 48 to 56. So I can use any figure between 48 to 56, but for moderacy, I'll use, let me use 50 for this. So this will be my input field, and then I'll give it a stroke to make it visible and make the input field familiar. So then I copy this and bring it inside my input field, inside my frame. And then, because I said I use the 8-pixel screen, 8-pixel design grid, then I would center align it, and you notice that everything around it would be in duplicate of 8. So that's 16 top padding, 16 bottom padding, and 16 padding, basically. So then I'll convert this to an auto layout by clicking Shift A, and then, sorry, I'll bring this here. I'll drag that there. So the auto layout values also would reflect the 8-pixel grid system that I talked about earlier. So sorry, I'll use the values of 16 go through my padding and spacing between everything. All right, so this would now turn to my placeholder text. You can decide to add text, you can decide to leave it that way. Also, then I would align this together using auto layouts and reduce the spacing to 8. Like I said, 8-pixel grid system. It just makes your design well balanced and aligned. Then after that, sorry, I need to increase the spacing of this so that it will be more readable. After that, I duplicate the label and bring it down. So this will be my helper text. If you remember when we were presenting the slides, we talked about int. So basically, some input fields would need an int to show users what they're expected to add some supplementary messages to what I expected to fill in the input field. And this would be my hint. You can use any English you want, maybe complimentary message or anything. So basically, I'll reduce the size of this to 12. The reason I'm reducing it is because I don't want it to fight with the visual dominance of the label and the plain text. And I'll also reduce the line height to 16. Yeah, multiples of 8 for 2. All right, so the next thing I do is I then start adding my icons into the infused field. So for the purpose of this, I'll pick an icon here. I'll copy it and add it into the infused field directly. I'll paste it there. So now you notice that the icon is bigger than the text. So basically, a good design practice is to make sure that any supporting icon for your text should maintain the same height and vertical size. So because the text has an height of 18 pixels, I would reduce my icon size also to 18 pixels. So now you see that they are aligned properly. And then I want this icon to be here because there's a very high possibility that whatever the users will be typing will be quite long to this extent. So to do that, I'll just drag this. I'll increase the width of the input text until the icon has a margin of a padding of 16 to the border. So this is 20. So to make it 16, I'll just increase this by 4 pixels to shift it there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to use a leading icon, because this is a trailing icon. So for people who would want to use a leading icon, what you can do is just to duplicate this and bring it here. So yes, that makes it better. But for the purpose of this presentation, and also it's not good UX or UI practice to use 2 icons at the same time. It might confuse your users. And for the purpose of this presentation, I would use just one trailing icon. Okay, so as I was saying before, I'll make sure that this one shifts the icon into a padding of 16 with the border. Oh, that's 14. So I have to reduce this by 2. And also I'll change this to, I'll make this fill the container. So that whenever this icon is not there, the width would stretch until the padding. So let's say, for instance, I delete this. You notice that the width has extended to a padding of 16 to the margin. So that's why I filled the container with it. So let me take it back. All right. So basically, I have the very basic design for my input field. Okay, so I need to, because if you want to create an int for your users, you might also need a supporting icon for your ints. Sometimes it wouldn't be good to just leave an int without an icon. It would act like a visual cue. So what I do is I just copy an icon from my other components, and then paste it here. But then I want the 2 of them to be aligned together. So I'll just select the 2 of them and auto layout them. But then you see that the icon is bigger, and I want it to be aligned to the right. So the same thing I did here is what I'll be doing here. The icon size would need to match the height of the text, which is 16. So I'll reduce this to 16. Basically, yes. And I'll take the icon back to the left. Yeah. So now I have the basic design. So now that I've designed this, if you'll be designing other elements on your screen, you would still need to keep this column on your screen. But for the purpose of this presentation, I don't need it anymore since I already have the right width for the infused field. So I'm just going to hide the column. Yeah. So now you see that the design looks noisy. It's not well balanced visually. So I'll just change the colors and clean it up to make it well balanced. So basically, I don't like to use pure black on white screens. I like to use a shade of my primary color, or just 2-1-2-1-2-1. And also, the placeholder text would also need to be lighter than the label to create an hierarchy and visual dominance for the label. And also the int would also need to be darker to create an hierarchy for the label. Let me increase it a little bit. This icon sizes, the color would change later, so I don't need to change it now. You would still get there. And also this one, I would need to also reduce the darkness of the trailing icon, but I would still keep the visibility in such a way that it would still appear clickable to the users. Yes, so also lastly, I would reduce the visibility of the stroke so that when this placeholder text, when this input gets filled, the stroke wouldn't fight with the visibility of the text and to make the design well balanced. All right, so I'll give it a corner radius of 4 or 8. Let me use 4 for the purpose of this presentation. All right, we can see that the look is more exciting now and well balanced now. So now that I've created my basic input field, so to design, if generally if you are designing, you can just create these duplicates and start designing and create prints. But basically, if you need to create different interpretation and states for your designs, you would need to edit them one by one on different screens and to create multiple screens for them to show stakeholders or the developer, and it might be quite stressful. So instead of doing that, I don't just rush and do that. I'll just bring this down here. Sorry, my voice is a little bit cracky. And then I'll turn this to my mother component. So the difference between a mother component and the normal component is because a mother component would allow you to edit the components, and if the necessary changes you make will reflect on the other components. But we'll get there. Just follow me. So to create a mother component for this, I'll just click on this button. Yeah, you notice that there was no drop down. There's no drop down here because I only selected a frame. But if I'm selecting multiple frames, there will be a drop down there. So to create a mother component, I'll just click on this button and it has created my mother component. I'll rename this to mother components. So if you remember, when we're presenting, we talked about different states of input fields. So I'll be creating the states now, and the states will just enable users to understand what's actually going on and to have an idea of what the next actions they are supposed to take and what they are supposed to do with the input text field. So to create the states, I'll just duplicate this one down. So for now, I don't have a business with this one, except I want to make some tangible changes to the input field. So follow me along. We have 6 general states for input field. So I'll duplicate this 6 times. This is 2. I have to make this 24 to follow the 8 pixel margin. So let me make this 24. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 2 more, 5, 6. I have 6 different subsidiaries of these mother components. So I would need to do the same thing I did for these icons, which enabled me switch between them easily. I'll do the same thing for these these component sets. So I'll just click everything together and then create component sets and auto layout it. The reason why I'm creating an auto layout for it is because it will make it easy for me to delete or add a variant to the set. So for instance, if I don't need this one anymore, you see that the old design still maintain the same spacing. And if I want to add a new one, you see that it's easy for me to do that.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Opeyemi. Opeyemi, one sec. Thank you very much, because I was going to mention that, so I'm glad you did. To my fellow beginners in the house, you definitely want to make sure you add auto layouts to your knowledge. You know, the moment you've mastered the basics, you master basic alignment, colors, you know, grids, once you master those basics and you like to step up your game, you know, I really recommend you check out auto layout. You know, auto layout is one, use of components is another thing. I think Isaac has covered that in our very first session. So check the YouTube channel. I think Isaac covered that, you know, so you want to make sure, Sikpelumi, no shame. Yeah, there's some people that abuse, they like auto layout so much, they abuse it every time. So don't be like those people. But I mean, once you think you need some support, you can always reach out to members on the group, but definitely check out auto layout. Opeyemi has really given you a very basic, you know, perspective on why he's using it here. And there are tons of other examples. So I just wanted to chip that in. Thank you very much, Opeyemi. Yeah.
All right. So to continue, I would want to design these various input fields to represent their unique states and to create the different states for them. So like we said in the slides, there are 6 different states. That's the idle states, the over states, the active states, the success or validation states, the error states, and the disabled states. So please work on me. So the first one will be the idle state. So remember when I was creating the different variant states for these icons, I created a property for it and a variant state to represent the unique property of the variant. So basically the property here will be state to reflect the type of state that each input fields are on. So this one would be idle. You can leave it as default anyway. It's either one works anyway, whichever one works for you. So this one would be over. This would be the over state. This would be the active state. This would be the success or validation stage. Let me just do success. This would be the error state. And this would be the disabled state. All right, now I'll need to design them to represent their unique states. So basically, the idle state doesn't really need any design because, excuse me, they need it's already represented there on. So the over states, what I like to do for the over states, because I don't like to make my design noisy, so I'll just darken the stroke to separate the visual identity from the other include fields for the user to know that the cursor is already hanging on it. So I'll just darken it a little bit. And also one more thing I must mention is when you're designing, please make sure that your colors will be picked from your design system. I'm only using random colors here because there's no design system here. And we talked about design systems in the previous classes. So for the purpose of this session, I'm only using random colors, but excuse me, when you're working on live projects, please make sure that your colors are picked from your design system.
So I have one humble request now that you mentioned live projects. I was going to say it at the beginning, but I hope this doesn't destabilize you too much. But can we go to any website you can think of and show us maybe 2 or 3 of these text inputs, you know, so we can relate with how one is maybe idle or one is regular and one is in error states. I know you saw it on some slides, but I don't know what site has a form. Can we think of anyone? Maybe you can continue and we'll think of one and share, just so people can visualize. Let's apply for maybe what's the website we can trust here? What did you say?
All the sites I have, I'm logged in. I'm logged into
okay,
them.
Okay. Like, you know where okay, use no worry, it's fine, it's fine. Free Instagram, but maybe we'll do that just to show people how all these things come together. So you could free that till later then. But I think it would be nice to see. Oh, okay.
All right.
You trust Meta to deliver. They'll for your hand. It's crazy how even these big companies are the ones that don't obey the rules.
For real?
Nobody has beef with Instagram.
I'm telling you. And it's for good reason. So let's do sign up. Let's do sign up. Yeah.
You were right. You were right.
Exactly. So guys,
I don't know any.
don't. So no, it's fine. We'll think of
Sure.
one. You just continue. Pelumi
All
and I
right,
will
all
work
right, all
behind the
right,
scenes to give examples. But I mean, your
all
slides.
right.
I'm hoping you guys will share the slides for us. I think that slide was really solid. So, and same thing with last session too. Let's share the slides so we can share the slides and add it to the YouTube link. Yeah. Opeyemi, go ahead.
All right. So as I was saying, for the overstates, I just darkened the stroke of the input field to separate it visually from the other input field and to make the user know that a cursor is on it. So for the active states, what I like to do is to use my primary color for the stroke. But since there's no primary color, I'm just going to pick any random color. Let me use blue. I like using blue. Makes me feel calm. All right. And for the active states, you don't need a placeholder text. So I'm just going to delete this and delete this. Or sometimes you might actually just need this. So let me just leave it like this. All right. So for the what did they call it? What's the next one? For the success states, I like to darken the placeholder text because it would identify that an input has already been typed into the field. So I'll just darken it and create.
Open Malga, I like giving beginners priority. So I think Goodwill raised his hand and I'd like to, if you can spare a second from him.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All
Goodwill,
right.
you have the floor.
Sorry, it was a mistake. Sorry, it was a mistake.
Goodwill will fine you. You'll pay fine. All right, no wala. Opeyemi, over to you.
All right. Okay, so as I was saying, the success state would need to visually reflect that something has been successful. So the best way to do that is to use the color green. So to use the color green, I'll change the colors to green. I don't like to use a bright shade of green because it will make the design too funky. And a light shade of green might not have a good contrast ratio with a white background. So I like to use a dark shade of green. And I'll change this int color also to green. Yeah. So for the error states, I would use red. I'll be changing this one to red because basically when you have an error state, you want your user to be more aware of the error and to make it look more serious. So I'll be changing the stroke to red. The reason why I did change the stroke of the success or validation stage and validation states to green is because normally to make the design look noisy and it's really of less importance because you already have one here. But since an error state is something that is really important, I would then change this here. Okay, so I'll use the same red color I used for my stroke to change this. So yes, you remember when I was saying that the reason for creating these icons in a variant is to enable me to switch between them easily. So now imagine I didn't do this. If I would want to do this now, it would be very difficult because now I cannot add a new icon to this set. It would look rough and all. It would take a longer process. So the fastest way to do this is to just switch it to error. And voila, you have the error state. I would also change this to, oh, I've copied something else. I also change this to the red color that I used before. So this reflects the error state. And I'll darken this one also because basically for you to have an error state, then definitely something must have been imputed into the, so I'll use 212121. Then lastly, for the disabled state, generally for the disabled state, you want to reduce the visual opacity of everything on the input field. So I'll just use the same color for everything, same color as my placeholder text for everything, just to reduce the opacity. Then for the icons also. Yeah. And also for the error state, I like to add, so it's just my preference because I like to emphasize that an inactive state is actually inactive. So to do that, I'll just add the background to the infused field. I'll just add a field background and make it since my primary color is blue, I'll make it a blue gray. I'll make the background blue gray just by a bit to emphasize that the state is actually truly disabled. Yeah. So I basically like this, I have all my states. So I'll be demonstrating the use of these variants now. So to do that, I'll go back to my screen. I'll just copy one here and bring it into my screen. Okay, so let me make this more realistic. So let me just let me increase this to 16. Let me increase the line height to 22 and 16. Yeah. So basically, when you're designing, you want to give a bit of spacing at the top of your screen because some domestic elements would be there, like the battery percentage, the network signal, and all. So generally for the iPhone sizes, they have a top padding of 43 pixels. iPhone uses odd numbers for their basic paddings. So they generally have a padding of 43 at the top and 33 below. So because I'm using an 8 pixel grid, I'll just add the number 8 to 43, and that's 51. This is where, basically, this is where all my designs start from, 51 pixel from the screen. So
Opeyemi, pause. Opeyemi, I'll pause that 51%. So hold that thought. So Goodwill here finally has a question. He says the difference between inactive and disabled states. You know, is that a question? Is that an answer you have ready for us, or Techbaby wants to chip in?
Yes. Okay. I don't know if my co-host wants to answer that.
Okay. Yes. So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, the disabled state is okay. Let me start with the inactive state. All right. So the inactive state is more of like you don't have I would say the idle state too is more of like the disabled state. While the idle state is the same as the inactive state. Why the disabled state is something like maybe you can't even type at all. That is why it's like green. Okay, please back me up if I'm saying the right thing.
Yes. So generally, an inactive state and a disabled state are basically the same. The only thing different between them is the use of English. So for an inactive state, you'd identify that you wouldn't be able to perform any action on the elements. And that's just basically the same function with the disabled state. So it just depends on what you choose to name your variants as or your inputs as. So it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Opeyemi. Opeyemi, could you when you check the link on the channel, I think Pelumi dropped one link he wants us to try and click on. If you check your chat, check the chat section, click on it. Goodwood, that's a very good question. Goodwood, do you remember when you are filling some forms and they ask you maybe what type of user are you or something? So this is what we have. So maybe Opeyemi, you use this to explain later on. But from my own perspective, Goodwill, disabled is that thing that you cannot use. It can be there, but you cannot interact with it for whatever reason they give you. So if I'm filling a form now and I am not a salary earner, okay, the moment I select students there, the salary field might become disabled. It's there. Goodwill, let me know if you get me. The field is still there, but I can't type anything inside. Even if I put my cursor there, it's as if they use padlock to lock something. That's disabled state. So I'm hoping that works for you. So the opposite of disabled is able, capable. However, there's active and inactive. You know, you are alive, you are capable, and you are able, but you are either active and inactive. And I think that's the example Opeyemi will show us right now. So Opeyemi, the way you've not even put your mouse on it at all, what state is this right now that we are saying,
It's
Opeyemi?
actually inactive. I take my explanation back. Sorry, I misjudged inactive with idle. Sorry, that
No,
was
no, no, that's why I just gave that narrative. So
yeah.
Opeyemi, honestly, you guys
So
are doing a great job. But yeah, honestly, this has been really solid. And because this is we are also practicing. So Goodwill and the rest, we're also learning here. We are using people to train how to like teach each other. So what I would always say is always use examples of Opeyemi. Like the slides were awesome. So but always include, oh, for instance, your Facebook, oh, for instance, your Google. That way people would relate. You know, it doesn't feel like a teaching again. It feels like, oh, this guy is gisting me stuff. So I think that's why this example really works. And if anybody can also think of that disabled actual interaction, that would actually be helpful for. Let me just go ahead and continue to show us what you have to show us.
thank you
So
so much.
Google, I'm hoping this is clear. Then listen to Opeyemi to finish up the rest. Yeah.
All right. So these infused fields basically they are inactive, or you can say idle, either of them. So they are inactive. They are there, but they are not active. So when I over my cursor, they don't have an over state for this. But when I click on it, this is the active state. You can see that the stroke, the color of the stroke is also the color of their primary, is also their primary color. So this is the active state. So after typing everything, you notice that whatever I type, okay, it's too fast. So this is the error state. You can see it clearly. This is their error state. They use the color red to identify their error state. But if let's say I input, let me use the correct email address. Exactly. So you'd see that this is the field state or the success state, whichever one. This shows that the input that I made into this field is correct. And it just shows that I'm good to go. So I hope that explanation was okay. So
Yeah,
you can come back to the error
that
field.
was really clear. That was really clear. Don't worry, you drop your social media for anybody that wants to disturb you after this. Yeah.
All right. So how was that again? Okay. Okay. So I'll make a 48 pixel space in between these two because we have multiples of 8. It just makes my work easier. So I would bring this down. I'll create a spacing of. I also use the auto layout to make my work faster and easier. Let's use 3 for better explanation. All right. So then we'll begin to convert our input fields into realistic designs. So for this label, let's use email. For the placeholder text, let's use enter email or enter email address, whichever one works for you. So most email input fields don't need an icon, so I'm just going to delete this. Excuse me. And you might decide to put an int on your email field, or you might decide not to put it. But since I'm still going to put an int in another one, and I want to cover the various states, so I'm just going to remove the int here. So let me change this to password. So I'll change my placeholder also to enter password. So basically, almost all password fields need this icon, basically. So one of the reasons why I created a variant for this icon is when designing, it's easy to switch between these icons to visibility on and visibility off. So I'm just going to leave it as visibility on. And basically, you need an int. A good design practice is to show your users an int for your passwords. So for this, I'm going to make my int, let me see, passwords. Well, let me see, password
should include a number and symbol, something like we can
yeah,
just
thank you. And the symbol. Yeah, I don't need this icon yet, so I'm just going to remove it. But I'll still be using the icon. Don't worry. So then this one, let's use something different from what we explained in this slide. Okay, let's use bit of text. Bits. Okay, so yes, basically when pre-designing special input fields like dates, you basically want to show your users a cue of how they should input the numbers. So it just helps your user have an idea of how they should enter the number so they don't get lost and all. And it also helps them fill your forms faster. So to create my visual cue for this, I'm just going to like give them the format in which I want them to enter it. That's date, month, and yeah. So this should be 4. Yeah. I would need to change this to calendar. Some people might not put a calendar here, but I just like to put it. I don't need an int for this one, so I'll just remove it. Yeah, so basically I have my various input fields to register. And to make this more realistic, let me just create a button for it. So let me just use register me now. And I'd like to use a minimum of 14, and then change this to medium. So to create my button, I'll just create an auto layout for it. Like I said, 8-pixel system, so it will be in duplicate of 8. So okay, I don't need a spacing for this. This is a button, but the paddings will be 16 pixels each. Yeah, to make it align with the input fields. Yes. So let me increase this to, because I used 18 pixel for my input field text, so I'll use 18 pixel also for the line heights of the buttons. So I'll create a fill for this using my primary color. Oh, sorry, I'll create a fill for the button, not the text. So I'll create a fill for it using my primary color, and I'll change this as a low contrast. So I'll change the text to white, and then I want you to maintain the same width and sorry, I want to maintain the same width with the input text. I'll center align this because I want it to be at the middle by clicking here, and give this the same border radius, the radius of the input field. So let me use 40. So I'll just create another layout for it and use 40. So basically, because this field is empty, I'll just make this disabled. I can also create a variant for it for this particular button, but since we covered buttons before, and so please watch the previous videos to understand how to create variants for buttons. So I'll just reduce the opacity of this to show that it's disabled, but I still want it to have a shade of my primary color, basically. Yes, so I have this now. So now to demonstrate the various states for my input fields, let me just duplicate the screen. And okay, so I'll now change this to field. So instead of duplicating and entering the units one by one, I'll just come here and change it to success. You can see that the placeholder text came alive, and then I'll just change this to what I want to be there, what the unit, the input that I want to put there, name@email.com. And I would also change, okay, let me change this one to an error state. Let's change it to an error state. So to demonstrate the use of this icon, I will hide the input also and change the icon to visibility off. So basically the use of this icon is just to hide or show the inputs of the password states. And I will also change this one to success. So basically I want an icon to be beside this one. So I'm just going to come here and find the hidden icon and activate it there also. And yeah, so the date of birth, I would also fill the date of birth. There's actually another way to create the different icons, but it's more complicated and not beginner friendly. So I just decided to maintain to make it beginner friendly. So let me use today's date for this, 2022. And then remember that we want this to become clickable. So we'll use our primary color for this to show that it's clickable. And Viola, we have our icon set. So if you want to show that an input field is disabled, you can also come here, click on disabled.
Yeah, we can also show them the correct password state too.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So to show the correct password.
Opeyemi and Techbaby, we have a very important question on the chat, and the question is God when.
It's just basically one thing about design is it's just time. It's just time, because also you would even see this one is not even, you see some things and you'll be like, how is this person doing this? Like you can't just know design, you can't know everything about design. But anyway, let me just continue. So yes, if I want to show a success state for the password, I'll just come here and click on success, and you see that it has changed to. So instead of designing multiple screens to show the different states, I can just switch between them using the variants. So this is the disabled state, this is the field state. Then lastly, if you are not designing on a white background, you would need to give your input field a white background. So the reason why I didn't fill this before is because I'm designing on a white background. But if you're not designing on a white background, make sure that the input field is filled. So basically, but this field doesn't affect the disabled state. And lastly, the importance of the model component is just to edit. Once you make an edit here, it will reflect on all the other components. So imagine that I didn't create a model component for this, and I want to create a field for this. I would have to start filling everything one by one, which is really, really stressful. So that's the purpose of creating a model component and variants for your input fields. So yes, that's basically everything about practical. I don't know if anyone has other questions to ask.
Thank you very much, Opeyemi and Techbaby. That was really solid. I'll let Techbaby come in and also add in a few words before we open the floor questions. We have 7 minutes left, and we're hoping to make use of those 7 minutes very well. So Techbaby, any additions to your co-hosts before we open up to questions?
Okay, so Opeyemi, thank you for saving my ass. Really, thank you so much for that. So I would just say that we all have our different ways of designing things, or coming up with an outcome of what we are designing. So I just feel like you following the process of what Opeyemi did, you designing everything, the same thing does not really matter. What matters is just the outcome and following the best practice. So you can always reach out to us if you have any other questions. And I also make the slide public so everybody can access it and just use it for anything you want. So thank you very much, Obi. We are open to questions and feedback. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. On that note, as quickly as possible.
Okay.
What did you say?
Sorry. I wanted to say I just got a question. I thought you were rounding up the class.
No. We're taking questions. So you since you've seen one address, feel free to address. Then I'll just moderate afterwards. Okay. So go ahead, Opeyemi.
All right. So someone said, how can one add a new component to the variant? Good. So basically, if you want to add a new component to these variants, you just duplicate them and enter the unique state you want it to be and design it uniquely. So let's say I want to, I don't even know, is there any other component to add to this? I don't think there's any. Okay, let's do it this way. So let's say the disabled state is not there. Let's say this was my initial design and I want to create a disabled state. So what I'll just do is to duplicate one of these and then change this to the name of the state I want it to be as disabled, and then come here. The same thing I did earlier, reduce the visibility. I basically just need to design everything to reflect the, sorry, I need to reflect the space that I'm designing for. And this would also be the same color I used for this, so that everything will basically be same color. And like I did before, I'll change this background to, yeah, this. So basically, I've done that. So if I want to switch to a disabled state now, it should reflect Paula. So
Awesome.
that's how to add a new state to it.
Thanks, Opeyemi. I think that works
Okay.
brilliantly. Okay.
There's
Techbaby, go
another
ahead.
question here. Can you use a frame for a test field and put stroke instead of field? Okay, so if I get your question right, you're asking if you can use like a frame for like an input field. So I feel like yes, you can, because if you're like you can create like an input field with your auto layout, your text, then you just turn it to auto layout, then you already have an input field. Then instead of using field, yes, you can use like a stroke for your input field. Well, so like Okpai said, if you are using like a white background, then you don't need to use like field. But if you are using like gray or F1, then you need to have like a field for it. It might not necessarily be white. It can be like a lighter shade of your primary color, but you need to like let like your user knows that okay, this is like an input field.
Awesome.
I hope
Thank you very much.
Then we
Yeah.
have another one here.
Okay.
Does this work for the icons variants as well as in case in case one forgot to add an icon? Okay, so I don't get that question right. I don't really get that.
Question.
Or we can just take it.
So I think he's trying to ask that what I did for the input fields now, if it works for the icons also, if one forgets to. So basically, it doesn't work for it necessarily, because it's different from the input field. But what you can do if you forget an icon is to remove the auto layout and drop the icon inside here, or just duplicate the icon and switch the type of the icon differently. Let me see if, let me change this to, what do I change this to? I don't know. I'll have to download a new icon for that. So please give me a minute.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So while you're figuring that out, Techbaby, please drop your social, maybe your Twitter or Instagram, where you want people to follow and connect with you, or where you can drop yours later on. So it's exactly 1 minute to the end. I would suggest let's make use of the group to engage. This conversation can be started, and if there are any follow-up ones, I'm more than happy to forward the request to this boss. With respect to what was requested, I think this has been a brilliant session. Are you ready now? Okay. Okay, you're on mute though. You're on mute in case you are saying something.
Okay, so basically it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the icon sets. Basically, it doesn't.
Yeah.
The reason why I did this is because I use. So let me say I spoiled myself by creating a basic. I took time out to create a basic component set for all the icons I need in all my designs. Basically, I can I'll paste the link to the icon sets. So it already has all the components there. So you just need to come here and switch between the icons. So basically, I never have to download new icons, because all the icons I need in this life are there. So I never forget any icon that I want to use. So that's why. I just did this for illustration purposes, but
yeah, no, that's fine. Opeyemi, you said it a lot during the beginning. This was just purely for expansion, because if we go deep, we'll probably like keep having to like explain very details, and I don't think that would work. So for me, this was really brilliant. Felicia, to answer your question, it would be done as soon as possible. Help us pray for Pelumi to to remember us so that I can upload it. So go and drag Pelumi there. So we are already, this is when we should stop. So I don't want to take further, but because we have senior people on the call, I will take 2 inputs from the senior men and women. What are some tips and advice you think? Please keep it very short, or else I'll cut you off. All right, so keep it under 1 minute. What are some tips and advice that you think maybe Techbaby and Opeyemi did not add? Okay, so you have the floor. Raise your hand so I can call you. Okay, our silence is they did a fantastic job. Is that possible? I don't think that's possible. Daniel, Michael, Palumi, Amin, who else is here? Aderiye, any addition, subtraction, Jess, Tawakat. Okay, we can do that later. That's fine. Okay, cool. We can do that later. So okay, Palumi, you want to say something? Palumi, go ahead.
I said I thought the cute. I don't even have any.
Yeah. Awesome. So on that note, I'd like to share the grace by saying a big thank you for everyone for showing up, from beginners in the house to the senior men to the mid-level to our wonderful host and co-hosts. You guys really did a great job. I think we should keep this solid. And to the last presentation too, last week, that did the foundation to all of this. Damola and Jess, you guys did a great job. Techbaby and Opeyemi, sign out with a final word and we can close this up.
I don't even know what to say, but thank you everyone for coming around. I really appreciate it. And I and my co-host will be dropping links to some resources that would make your designs easy. I'll be dropping them in the group chat. Yes, so thank you everyone for coming around, and I really appreciate it. And please, if you have other questions, feel free to reach out to me or anybody in the group chat, and I would best believe that your questions will be answered. Thank you.
Cool. Techbaby.
All right, thank you everybody for joining in, and I apologize for my network.
Don't worry, he's still dealing with you because we can't even hear you right now, but it's fine. All right, then. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch up again next week. If there are suggestions you want to hear, please drop it in the channel. Otherwise, we are good to go. So, Palumi, you can stop recording now. Thank you from the Design Art family. Bye for now. Palumi, cut.
Yeah.
So, Opey and Techbaby can wait behind. Let me just give you